All right, diving deep today into the world of blended families,
That's right.
co-parenting, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean,
Yeah.
more than just, you know, those sitcom episodes with
Right.
perfectly blended families, right?
Yeah, it's definitely more complex than that.
So much more.
A lot of different moving pieces, you're blending, um, different lives, parenting styles, all the emotions that come along with that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and, it's interesting. The research shows that the success of a blended family isn't really about like avoiding conflict altogether. It's more about how you handle it when it does arise, which it inevitably will.
Right. Because, like, one of the articles you sent,
Yeah.
it mentioned this challenge of, like, trying to keep the discipline consistent
Yes.
between two different households.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge one.
You've got two parents, two sets of rules, maybe.
Right.
How do you even, like, begin to navigate that?
Oh, it can feel like a constant tug of war. And the kids, they definitely pick up on that.
Yeah.
Like, who can I manipulate better?
Right.
Who can I get away with more with? But one thing that one tip I saw that I thought was really helpful is like setting up a shared online calendar
Oh, interesting.
so that both parents can log like, behavioral incidents.
Okay.
And discuss consequences and try to be more consistent, even if they're not, in the same house.
Oh, so like a shared discipline calendar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
I wish I had that growing up. All the "but dad lets me" arguments.
Right, exactly. It's all about, transparency, presenting a united front, even if behind the scenes, you don't agree on everything.
Yeah, right.
And speaking of potential disagreements, bringing new partners into the picture, that can be a whole other
level
of complexity. Yeah.
Right, because like one of the sources you sent me talked about like the timing of that and how like rushing those introductions can really backfire.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to approach that? Because
Right.
New partner can feel very threatening to a kid, especially if they're still adjusting to the separation.
Absolutely. And every child's going to react differently.
Right.
Some kids are going to be more resistant than others. But the key is to really prioritize their emotional well-being above all else. So instead of like this big, meet the new boyfriend, girlfriend event, think more gradual, maybe start with like casual encounters at a park or, a group activity where the focus isn't solely on the introduction.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's more about like building familiarity and trust.
Exactly. You're creating a foundation for a relationship. You're not trying to force an instant connection.
Got it.
And that's especially important when we consider the role of the step-parent, which can be a really tricky one to navigate.
Definitely. Like I was reading, what is a step-parent really?
Right.
Like where do they fit in?
Yeah.
What are their responsibilities? It feels like everybody's got different ideas about that.
Exactly. And the term itself can be really confusing. One study that we looked at found that successful step families often viewed the step-parent as more of a bonus parent.
Oh.
So someone who adds another layer of support and care without trying to replace the biological parent.
Got it. So not trying to be mom or dad part two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are different styles of step-parenting too, just like with biological parents, some are more authoritative, some are more permissive.
Right.
It's about finding what works best for that particular family dynamic.
And that leads to another, like, big one.
Yeah.
Different parenting styles.
Yeah.
I mean, even couples who are together don't always agree on how to parent.
Of course. Yeah.
So how do you navigate that
when
you're dealing with like two separate households?
Yeah.
Potentially even more differing opinions.
Absolutely. It's definitely a recipe for conflict if not handled well. A technique that therapists often recommend is it's called active listening.
Okay.
And it's not just about hearing what the other person is saying. It's about really trying to understand their perspective.
Okay.
And then focusing on your shared values. Maybe you disagree on bedtimes, but you both value reading together before bed. So find that common ground.
That makes total sense. But, sometimes even with best intentions, things escalate.
Sure.
I'm thinking like holidays.
Oh, yeah.
Already a stressful time for most families.
Right.
But then you add in the like complexities of a blended family. Whose traditions take priority? Which family do we see when?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a minefield.
It definitely can be.
Yeah.
And that's where, having those healthy conflict resolution skills become even more essential.
Right.
Your sources mentioned family mediation as being a really helpful tool. It's like having a neutral third party who can help everyone communicate effectively and find solutions that work for the whole family.
So it's not about avoiding arguments altogether. It's about learning to argue better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to holidays, I think there's also a really cool opportunity to create new traditions.
Oh, okay.
That are unique to your blended family. It's a way to acknowledge, honor the past, but also build something new and special together.
Oh, I love that. Like new traditions. One of the articles you sent me, there was a story about this blended family that I think they combined their holiday recipes.
Oh, nice.
So instead of arguing over whose grandma's cookies were better, they made both, and they had like a blended family cookie platter.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
And speaking of, finding solutions, another like really crucial aspect of all this is making sure there's fairness among all the children involved.
Absolutely.
You have step-siblings, maybe half-siblings.
Right.
And each child comes with their own history and their own needs.
Totally. So how do you make sure that everyone feels loved and valued without anyone feeling left out? Or on the flip side, like someone is getting preferential treatment?
Right. Yeah, that takes a lot of conscious effort. Simple things can make a big difference involving all the children in, age-appropriate decision-making.
Okay.
Celebrating individual achievements, even if it's, just a good grade on a spelling test. Creating opportunities for quality time together.
Okay.
Whether it's a family game night or just cooking dinner together.
This is so much. I feel like I'm soaking all this in.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's clear that like building a successful blended family, it takes work. It takes patience.
Absolutely.
And a whole lot of communication.
Yes, communication is key. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
What works for one family might not work for another.
Of course.
But by being open to learning, adapting,
and putting the children's well-being at the forefront, you're already setting yourself up for success.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you navigate this, all these ups and downs of blended family life, here's something I want you to think about. How can you create an environment where each child feels a sense of belonging and security, knowing that their individual needs and feelings are valued?
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
Lots to consider.
Lots to consider.
For sure.
Thanks for being with us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye. Bye.